Y or N. I was alone, lonely when he came to my life. I fall for him immediately. Love at first sight, you know. My parents doesn't accept him. They said street dogs belongs to street. How can they call him street dog? He was my first love. I cried, but they didn't listen and kicked him out. But now after years I fall in love again. She was wandering the streets, just like him, and when I saw her, I just knew. It's fate, she's the one. Can I keep her, Taehyung? She said, holding the small, dirt-covered kitten in front of his face. Taehyung stared, his cold eyes, sharp jawline, and perfectly pressed suit screamed CEO. Inside, however, he was silently wondering, how can one person be this dramatic at and how unfortunate it was that this person was legally his wife. YN, look how adorable she is, just like me. You can call her Mini Y or N, and I'll call her Mini Me. Y or N, well, can I? Taehyung said nothing. Saying yes would mean chaos. Saying no would mean war. So, like always, he simply turned around and walked away, adjusting his tie with robotic elegance. Y or N pouted. YN, he just ignored us. Mini. Mini. Y or N, meow. Y or N, don't worry, you'll get used to it. Let's go take a bath. With royal flair, she marched to the bedroom, kitten in arms, leaving a trail of muddy paw prints behind her. The automatic glass doors of Kim's shipping co. slid open as Taehyung entered with his signature cold aura. His black coat flowed behind him like a cape. Employees straightened up, some even held their breath. His secretary, Mina, rushed forward in heels too high for basic safety. Mina, good morning, Mr. Kim. Taehyung gave a curt nod. She trotted beside him, listing his schedule for the day. He listened silently, his expression unreadable. Kim Taehyung wasn't just a CEO. He was power, born with a dignity most men faked. He ruled the corporate world with silence and sharp glares. He didn't tolerate jokes, noise, or emotions. And yet, his wife was a walking explosion of glitter, drama, and stray animals. They had been married for 2 months. Everyone assumed it was a strategic match. YN came from a wealthy, well-known family, after all. But Taehyung quickly realized she wasn't like other rich girls. She wasn't calm, elegant, or dignified. She was chaos in human form. She talked to birds, named her houseplants, wore sunglasses indoors, made faces at him during breakfast, and now she'd brought home a cat named Mini Y or N. The soft tick of the clock echoed against the glass walls. Sunlight poured in through the tall windows, casting sharp lines across the polished floor. Taehyung sat behind his desk, sleeves rolled up, veins prominent on his forearms as he typed away. His coat hung neatly on the back of his chair, his focus razor sharp on the screen in front of him. A knock. Mina. Mr. Kim, you have a meeting in 10 minutes. Taehyung gave a curt hum in response, not once glancing up. Mina stepped inside anyway, heels clicking softly on the marble. She stood there longer than necessary, eyes lingering on his arms. Dirty thoughts clouded her mind as she bit her lip. Then Taehyung's phone buzzed. He finally looked up, phone in hand, catching her still standing there. Taehyung, do you have anything else to say? Mina blinked, flustered. Mina, and no sir. She quickly turned and walked out. Taehyung glanced at the screen. His shoulders dropped slightly as he saw the caller ID. He sighed and answered, YN. Ha 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 ha. YN's laugh ringing in his ear as soon as he received the call, and she kept laughing. Taehyung leaned back in his chair, pinching the bridge of his nose. Taehyung, do you have anything to say? Y or N? Yes, yes. You know what happened. She broke into another round of uncontrollable laughter. Taehyung, I should hang up. YN. No wait. Grandma came to visit. Taehyung, and what's so funny about that? YN. She brought me this ancient blanket and said, use it tonight. She tried to stifle another laugh and failed miserably. Y or N? She said it's the same one she and Grandpa used before your dad was born, and your parents used it before you were born. A vein twitched in Taehyung's temple. YN, and now she's passed it on to me, said she wants to see her great-grandchild soon. Taehyung sat frozen, his ears turned slightly red. Y or N? Taehyung, that blanket has 2 huge holes in it. What does she expect us to do with that? Taehyung shifted his phone to the other ear. Taehyung, what did you say to her? Y or N? I said she already has a great-grandchild. Taehyung, what? YN? Then I introduced her to Mini-Me. A tiny meow echoed from the other side of the call. Taehyung groaned and ended the call. YN stared at her phone screen. YN, he hung up on me. She blinked twice, mouth slightly open in mock offense. YN, Kim Taehyung, did you just disrespect the blanket? She threw the phone onto the couch like she'd been betrayed by a lifelong comrade. Mini YN, the kitten, meowed from beside her. YN, exactly, mini me, the audacity, the rudeness, the lack of historical appreciation. She stood up on the couch, holding the ancient brown and yellow blanket high above her like a battle flag. YN, hear me, O ancestors, your humble descendant shall not be defeated. Tonight, we wrap ourselves in destiny. Mini YN let out another meow and pounced onto the blanket. YN, that's right, you get it, you're a real one, mini me. She pulled the blanket around herself and started pacing the living room like a war general. YN, he thinks he can escape the prophecy, foolish mortal, he will return, and when he does, we strike. She narrowed her eyes at the door, whispering dramatically, YN, the chosen blanket awaits. The meeting had ended. Taehyung returned to his office, jaw tight and expression unreadable. The room fell silent the moment he entered. Mina waited a few minutes before walking in uninvited this time, with 2 coffee cups in hand. Mina, you seem tired, Mr. Kim, thought you might need this. She placed the coffee on his desk, deliberately leaning forward, letting her blouse dip just enough. Taehyung, leave it, and the office, he said without looking up. Mina blinked, her lips parting. Mina, I was just trying to help. She placed her hand on his desk, fingers inching closer to his. Taehyung finally raised his gaze, sharp and unblinking. Taehyung, I pay you to obey me, not to help me, and next time knock, and don't touch my desk. Mina froze, her confidence crumbled. Without waiting for a reply, he looked down at the screen and resumed typing, like she didn't exist. Mina swallowed and walked out quietly, her heels clicking like echoes of defeat. Taehyung stepped into the penthouse at exactly 7 p.m. like always, shoes neatly placed, coat hung on the rack. He loosened his tie as he stepped into the living room and stopped. YN was waiting for him, lying on the couch, wrapped like a burrito, in the blanket. It was hideous brown and yellow, visibly worn out, and most importantly, had 2 gaping holes right in the middle. YN peeked out dramatically. YN, welcome home, husband, I've prepared the legacy. Taehyung stared. YN winked at him. YN, it's the chosen one. It has been passed down for generations. Tonight, it shall fulfill its final mission. He turned away to walk toward the bedroom. YN, grandma's watching us from heaven, don't disappoint her. Taehyung, she's very much alive. YN, and very much hopeful. Taehyung sighed and shut the door behind him. Moments later, the door reopened and he peeked out. Taehyung, if you bring that thing into our bedroom, I'm sleeping on the balcony. YN, you mean we're sleeping on the balcony? She laughed. A meow came from under the blanket. Mini YN poked her head out, as if ready for battle. YN, see, mini me, cold outside, cold inside, we must melt him. The city outside hummed quietly beneath the dark sky. Inside the penthouse, the lights were dim, the air oddly warm, and Taehyung stood in the doorway of the living room, towel draped around his neck, hair slightly damp from a shower, and there she was. YN had fallen asleep on the couch, still wrapped in that godforsaken blanket. Her lips were slightly parted, one leg peeking through one of the blanket's ancient holes. Mini YN was curled against her stomach, fast asleep. Taehyung sighed. Taehyung, you're ridiculous, he muttered and walked over. Taehyung gently picked up the kitten, placing it in her little pink basket. Then, he hovered, for a second, just watching. Her skin glowed under the dim light. The way the blanket draped off her shoulder left just enough exposed to stir something deep, something primal in him, something he often buried beneath his cold exterior. He reached down and brushed a strand of hair from her face. She stirred. YN, Taehyung, you came to fulfill your destiny. Taehyung raised an eyebrow. Taehyung, you're not seriously trying to seduce me, using a 50-year-old blanket. YN, it's not just a blanket, it's our fate. Our ancestors demand sacrifice. She reached for him, tugging him down. He resisted at first, but her fingers slid under his shirt, nails grazing his chest lightly. His resolve slipped. Taehyung leaned down slowly, one arm propped beside her head, his eyes locked onto hers. No more coldness, just quiet intensity. Taehyung, you're trouble. YN, and you're still here. She smirked. Taehyung shook his head and carried her to the bedroom. The quiet clink of silverware and the soft rustling of newspaper pages filled the elegant dining hall. YN sat across from Taehyung, munching on buttered toast, when crash, the maid dropped the porcelain teapot, shards scattered across the floor like a tiny explosion of regret. YN blinked. Then YN burst out laughing. Taehyung slowly lowered his newspaper, eyes narrowing. Taehyung, an accident has occurred. A valuable item has been broken. What's the point of laughing? YN, I'm not laughing at the teapot. Look at her face, she looks like she just accidentally committed murder. The maid looked pale, frozen in place with trembling hands. Taehyung, you're laughing. At the look on her face. YN, yes. Taehyung, please don't do this in front of me. If you want to laugh, go into the bathroom, close the door, and laugh there, he said with stone face. YN tried to hold it in, but that only made it worse. Her shoulders started shaking. Taehyung, why are you laughing now? YN, because you sound so serious when you say things like that. It's funny, she said while giggling uncontrollably. Taehyung, I'm being serious. Please don't laugh in front of me. YN stood up, still stifling her laughter, and began walking away, but her muffled giggles trailed behind her like a trail of sparkles. Taehyung, watching her go, clenched his jaw. Taehyung, unbelievable woman. He sat still, expression unreadable. His fingers tapped the table once, twice, then he slowly folded the newspaper and set it aside. The maid stood frozen, eyes wide with panic, but Taehyung didn't even glance at her. Instead, he sighed long and quiet. Taehyung, she laughs at the strangest things, he muttered to himself. His eyes lingered on the empty seat across from him. The corners of his lips twitched, just barely. Then he caught himself and straightened, face back to its usual cool mask. He cleared his throat, glanced at the broken teapot. Taehyung, clean it up. It's just porcelain, he said in a calm voice. The maid blinked, startled, then bowed quickly and got to work. But as she bent down, she could have sworn for just a second the cold husband had smiled. The door to Taehyung's bedroom was slightly open. He had forgotten the blueprints on his nightstand, so he returned, quiet and unsuspecting until a loud, off-key melody made him pause. He frowned, then crept closer. Inside the room, YN was standing on the bed, barefoot in one of his oversized shirts, hair wildly tousled from jumping around. She held a hairbrush like a microphone, belting out a dramatic pop ballad as if she were performing for a stadium of 10,000. YN was singing loudly and terribly. YN, I loved you like a mango, sweet in the summer but gone in the snow. On the floor sat Minnie YN, watching with wide feline judgment, and around her were her plush toy audience lined up in neat rows like loyal fans. YN gasped dramatically after the song ends. YN, thank you, I know, I'm an icon, I'm beauty, I'm grace. I fell off the bed and landed on my face. She tripped while twirling and fell backward onto the mattress, laughing her lungs out, still giggling. She crawled to the edge of the bed, held her mic up again, and bowed. YN, I'd like to thank my manager, Minnie YN, for never biting my toes during rehearsal, and my lovely plush fans, you believed in me when no one else did. Taehyung stood outside the door, hidden from her view. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stared, in utter disbelief. Not because she was ridiculous, which she was, or because she was off-key, which she very much was, but because she was happy, so real, so unfiltered, so full of light. He couldn't remember the last time someone brought this kind of chaos into his perfectly controlled world, this kind of joy. His brows furrowed slightly, but not in annoyance. For once, his gaze was warm, almost amused, almost fond. Then, without making a sound, he stepped back, pulling the door slightly more closed behind him. He didn't interrupt, didn't tease, just left quietly. The quiet clatter of keys echoed in Taehyung's office, his brows furrowed, gaze locked on the laptop screen as his fingers moved fast, focused. A soft knock broke the rhythm. Without glancing up, he murmured, Taehyung, come in. The door opened. Mina stepped in, her heels tapping slowly against the polished floor. The first few buttons of her shirt is undone and her tight black skirt moved like silk with every sway of her hips. Taehyung didn't lift his eyes. Taehyung, do you have any work? Mina, I need to talk to you about something personal. Taehyung, make it quick. Still, his focus remained on the screen, unbothered. She walked around his desk and stand next to him. She purposely dropped the file in her hand and sit down to pick it up, letting her blouse gap open just enough for a glimpse of bare skin. Mina, you're always working so hard. Don't you ever want a break? She bit her bottom lip slightly, bent lower. Her fingers brushed his arm. Taehyung's eyes didn't flicker. Not yet, Mina. I've been working under you since years. I saw how you hold yourself. She stand up and lean and place her hand in his desk, bending down more. Mina, I can help you relax, if you just let me. She seductively dragged her fingers just inches away from his hand. She was about to touch his hand when he looked up. Silence. Then, Taehyung, are you trying to seduce me? His voice was unexpectedly calm. Mina's breath caught, but she quickly turned it into a smile, confident, dangerous. Mina, would it be such a bad thing if I were? A long pause. Taehyung leaned back in his chair, finally looking up at her. His expression was unreadable, cold, calculating. He stood slowly, each movement deliberate, each word like ice. Taehyung, you want to take the place of my wife? Mina blinked but held his gaze. Taehyung took a step toward her, his voice dropping. Taehyung, do you laugh like her? Talk to plants like her? Name stray kittens mini YN and call me 10 times a day just to tell me we're out of mangoes? Mina's smirk faltered. Taehyung, do you cry in public over a drama that ended 10 years ago? Or make prank calls pretending to be from the mango company just to make me sigh and secretly smile? He was close now, but not drawn in, rooted in defiance. Taehyung, do you think I'd ever let go of the only person who dares to turn my silence into noise? His voice grew quieter but sharper, cutting through the tension like glass. Taehyung, my world was gray before her, silent, calculated, cold. People feared me, obeyed me, but no one ever dared to color my sky. No one ever danced in the storm of my silence, until her. He stepped closer, but not toward Mina. It was as if he was talking past her, speaking into a memory, into something sacred only he could see. Taehyung, she barged into my life like a whirlwind, loud, dramatic, chaotic. She sings to the moon, argues with birds, throws tantrums over burnt toast, and still thinks love means making me wear ridiculous flower crowns in board meetings. His jaw clenched, nostalgic, soft. Mina stepped back, breathless, defeated by the one thing she didn't expect: loyalty. Just then, the door creaked open again. Y stepped in holding a small lunchbox and a wiggling mini Y in one arm. She's wearing a cream colors blouse with pink long skirt, her smile bright and oblivious. I brought your lunch. Mini Y said you skipped breakfast 'cause I laughed at the teapot incident. She paused, noticing Mina in the room. Oh, did I interrupt something? She said awkwardly. Taehyung didn't look at Mina, not even once. His eyes never left Taehyung. Nothing important. Mina stood frozen. She had worn her best perfume, her boldest lipstick, her tightest skirt, but she had nothing that could compete with mangoes, plants, a kitten named Mini YN, and a girl who had unknowingly stolen the heart of a coldest king. Taehyung, my work is done. Let's go home now. YN, really? Then let's go to a movie. Taehyung, I hate wasting time watching people pretend. YN, then let's go to my parents' house. Taehyung, no, you. Dad laughs without any reasons, he said without thinking twice, making Y gasp dramatically. Y how rude. Then where do you want to go, Your Majesty? Taehyung grabbed her hand, calm but firm. Taehyung, home. He started walking, holding her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Y followed, a bit surprised but smiling wide. Just before they stepped out the office door, Taehyung halted. He turned his head toward Mina, who had been silently fuming since Y entered. His voice was cold, final. Taehyung, give your resignation letter to my manager. Mina's face paled, lips parting, but no words came out, and just like that, he walked away, holding YN's hand tighter, as if to remind everyone watching who he belonged to.